Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news out of Six Flags America, where an interesting sign has gone up inside the park.
Six Flags America.
Yeah, Six Flags America, right? Like, who's paying attention there?
Doing?
The sign says Terminus 81618. So this is coming up just in a few days here. And this is posted on the Apocalypse fencing outside.
Oh.
Now, across from the Apocalypse fencing, they have a number of tombstones going up as well for past rides that they have had at the park that are no longer there. So, Danny, there's a few options here that I can see happening. One is that they're removing Apocalypse/Iron Wolf. It's the first B&M ever built by B&M. That B&M did other rides for Intamin. Lake Cobra was one of them that was just removed at La Ronde. So we have a history of stand-ups being removed from Six Flags parks in recent memory. But then there's also the option of maybe turning this into a floorless model that we've seen done at Cedar Point and California's Great America in recent years. Are there any other options here besides this? It's pretty much done as a stand-up, right?
Yeah, I think either way you look at it, it's done as a stand-up. I mean, I don't know. Some people might be saying VR, but VR on a stand-up,
Well, and the other thing is you're putting in, like, if you were doing VR, you wouldn't be teasing the end of something on the 16th. Like, I just feel like that, if you're doing VR...
Well, and they did VR on the Superman ride there. I don't know if they still do it.
Well, that's the thing. They don't really promote it. Like, VR is not something, like, it's just something they do usually. Like, it's usually announced.
Historically, it's just been something they do. So, I mean, they're either doing a... Now, here's the interesting thing. If they do a floorless conversion, would they do the Cedar Fair route where they give it a new name and whatnot? Or would they just... Or would they just kind of keep it Apocalypse? Because right now it's Apocalypse: The Last Stand. So are they going to change the name to Apocalypse: The Last Sit? I don't know. I don't know. You've got to change the name, even if you just change the subtitle or take the subtitle off. I mean, they already call it Apocalypse the Ride out at Magic Mountain. So
could you return it to its previous name of Iron Wolf?
Maybe
that would be really cool, wouldn't it? Like, because
that would be cool.
Because, like, the people at Six Flags America, they've never known it as Iron Wolf, so you're selling it as a new ride,
and it would just be an Easter egg for the people who kind of are in the know. But you would sell it as Iron Wolf as a floorless coaster, and we would have a second stand up to floorless conversion that's now themed to a wolf. That'd be a little strange. With Rougarou, that'd be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind that. Apocalypse, I always thought,
if you recall, the Iron Wolf logo was badass.
No, it absolutely was.
That was a badass logo.
So I always recall Iron Wolf being or Apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, the roughest of the old stand-up coasters, certainly. And we'd be talking about the same sort of thing they did, the Vortex out of California's Great America, which I thought was okay at best as a stand-up coaster, and riding it again this year as a floorless coaster, it was better. There were still parts of that ride that didn't have a ton of force. They were just some turns. So it kind of just became a nothing ride with the stand-up element. There was some force. You still felt that force in the floorless cars, but you can feel that force on a lot of other rides. The stand-up gave it a little bit of uniqueness. So as a floorless coaster, it kind of just became a nothing ride. It became more re-rideable and more enjoyable, but it just kind of, no pun intended, it just didn't stand out like it did before. So I feel like you'd kind of be doing the same thing here where you lose a little bit of the uniqueness factor, but you gain the fact that it probably becomes slightly more enjoyable. I think that's how most people describe the Mantis to Rougarou. It's slightly more enjoyable, but at the end of the day, not that different.
Well, and the only thing I really liked about Apocalypse was its color scheme, and I guess you could get away with keeping the actual the spine gray and maybe
The black and gray and the orange. I think that, you could make that work.
and maybe you would paint the supports red again and the track red again, so that it'd almost be like inverted of the old Iron Wolf colors a little bit.
Yeah,
because the old Iron Wolf was that rusty red color with the silver track, and maybe you would just invert those colors.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this going back to Iron Wolf. I like it more now that if they keep that name, and if they don't keep that name, if they do something stupid like Blue Hawk or something, then I don't care anymore. But I might, if they call it Iron Wolf again, I might take a trip out there, or at least have you buy me a T-shirt or something.
Yeah, that would require me to go there.
Well, you used to go every year to America because they gave you the cheapest passes, right?
Yeah. I mean, we did that once.
Yeah, I remember that.
We did that once. We always said we were going to do it every year, but the problem is then we realized we actually had to go to that park. I've only ever been to that park 3 times.
But that park gets a bad rap, and it gets a bad rap.
They get a worse rap than they deserve. That park is much, much better than it was, 15 years ago. 15 years ago, it was bad.
But I'm just saying, because Superman's a very good ride. I love Superman. That's like, I think it's better than the Darien Lake version. I don't know why. I just think it's
no, I agree with that.
It runs better.
Wild One, I think, is kind of a hidden gem.
Wild One is a very good roller coaster. Some people say really like Roar. I wasn't a fan when I rode it, but I've heard some people recently.
I always really like Joker's Jinx as well, and I like the Flying Dutchmans.
I tell you what, it's got a better lineup than a lot of Six Flags parks. It's got a better lineup than Great Escape does,
and St. Louis,
and Discovery Kingdom. Well, since they put in the Joker and stuff, it's Discovery Kingdom is probably a little bit better.
Yeah, but pre Joker, I think because their Roar and the America Roar is probably a wash, and then America still has a real good wood coaster. They got a hyper coaster, the flying coaster. I mean, America probably still comes out on top in that discussion there.
Like, so it's like ride wise, it's got a few good coasters there.
And now they have the Sky Screamer. Did they have one of the Frisbee rides?
I think did they just get one called Wonder Woman, or was that?
No, because their Wonder Woman is the Sky Screamer, I think.
Oh,
see, this is the problem when they have 8 different rides with the different superhero things.
So they
have a Larson Loop, Andy.
Well,
and they have Great America's Raging Cajun now.
They do
because like we say, when the rides at Great America are no longer great, they get sent to Six Flags America, just like Iron Wolf.
So I'm all in favor right now of this going to a Floorless and them calling it Iron Wolf, because I think that would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. No problems.
So hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully, because if you just remove it, that's a huge area that there's going to be nothing there, right? Like,
yeah, and it's like they took out their unique log flume / water coaster type thing, that Typhoon Sea Coaster or whatever. They took that out, I think, to as part of putting in Apocalypse. So it wouldn't make sense that 5 years later or whatever take it out. I don't know.
And to be honest with you, you could run that, because like obviously stand-ups, people get tired of them. They don't want to stand. They want to sit. The ride ops get tired of loading people. If it's a Floorless, it's going to be there for a considerable amount of time after that, because those things, people just ride it. If it's good or not, people are going to ride it.
Yeah. You're right.
It's an average roller coaster. So, and people ride those. So I'm all excited about this now that I've come up with this. So you heard it here first. Iron Wolf coming back to Six Flags America. So as always, thank you for joining us here on COASTER-net Update. I'm, of course, Einer Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Danny Miller, sitting down in Binghamton, New York.
Warriors.
See you guys.